In this video, we're going to start working on the structure that runs between column lines 1 and 3. Now, this will also be a wood frame structure, but instead of building it like we have here on the right, where we're showing each and every piece of lumber, we will be building this one out of assemblies. All right, so first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to go to section number 1, because I want to add another datum here. I probably should have created one when we did this structure to the right. We may make some adjustments to that, but for the time being, I'm going to click on this one and copy it and make that copy 12 inches lower. Okay, so it's basically running along the top of the plate there. Okay. Now, another way to create, right now, when I look at my floor plans, that new level, which is level 5, when I made the copy, is not appearing. So what I can do is go to View, Plan Views, Floor Plan, and create a plan out of it. So there's level 5 now appearing. Okay, so my current level is level 5. I'm going to type in VR, and I'm going to change the view to unlimited for the bottom primary range and the view depth, so I can kind of see everything below. Okay, so now I have a new datum. I'm going to actually rename this datum, this level. Instead of level 5, I'm going to call it, let's change this to 3/4 so we can more easily select it. Top, TO, stands for top of top. And let's do these all as caps. Top of top plate. Do we want to change? Yeah, let's go ahead and change it. Now, sometimes we will and sometimes we won't do that. But when I go back to my view, now it's listed as the top of the top plate. All right, so let's go back to, let's go to level 1. All right, we're going to begin adding some walls to this structure. And we're going to bring them, at least for the time being, from a little bit below level 1 all the way up to the top of the top plate. So we're going to go to Architecture, and we're going to go to Wall. And let's see here, click on Wall, and let's take a look at what kind of walls we have in here. There are some default walls that we can use as a starting point. We have a wood frame structure, so we're going to need to make some changes. I'm going to use this exterior, it says EIFS, that's sometimes referred to as EIFS. It's a synthetic stucco. We'll be changing this, but anyway, I just need something to start off with. I'm going to go to Edit Type, and I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to call it Exterior. We'll call it Siding on Wood Framing, and say OK. All right, now the structure is going to need to be changed. See here, we're not going to have this. So just so you know, if you've not worked with these wall assemblies, these are all the layers of the wall, starting from the exterior side, where it says core boundary. That's typically where your structure is. So right now it's listed as a metal stud layer. We're going to change this to wood, and we're going to look for one called dimension lumber. And we're going to say, OK. Now our exterior walls are going to be, so it had here 6 inches because metal studs come in that dimension, but we know with dimension lumber that there's a nominal size and an actual size, so we're going to change it to 5.5 for a 2x6. We're going to delete this thermal layer, and for the finish, we're going to look up, let's see what's under siding. Siding clapboard. We'll go with that. And we'll say, okay. And right now it's listed as 3 inches because that was the default material for this particular wall assembly. We'll make this siding clapboard 0.75 inches. We will maintain this air infiltration barrier, which we'll talk about later. And we have an exterior sheathing layer that is 3/4 of an inch. We're going to change this one. Let's see if we have oriented OSB, just come up under that. We may have to return to this later. Yeah. Okay, we will come back and address it. For now, let's leave it as 3/4 inch plywood. And say okay here. For the interior side, I would prefer to use a slightly thicker gypsum wallboard on the interior. So we will change that and we'll leave the vapor barrier as it is, right? And click on OK. And apply and OK. Let's go back here. So you can see here that it's giving you a preview. If you don't see that, there's a preview button down here at the bottom. So you can show it in plan or section. So this is a sort of a plan view of that wall type that we just revised. And you'll notice it doesn't include the graphic for the studs. It's just a dimension of 5.5 inches, allowing that space. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add this wall. So I'm going to go back up to architecture and wall. And I want to make my wall center line. No, I don't want it on the center line. I want it to be the core face of the exterior. So what does that mean? That is the face of the studs. So the exterior side of the studs. So I'll show you a wall section of what this might look like, but I'm just going to go around, and remember you want to go in a clockwise direction. Otherwise, you'll just need to flip your walls around. They'll be kind of they'll be backwards. Okay, now I'm going to select them all while I'm here. I'm holding down the control key for this, and I'm going to go to section number 1. All right, let's zoom over to that side. Okay, so a few changes that I'm going to need to make. One of the changes is to drop it down so it sits on the foundation wall. So I think that dimension, let's see here, the base constraint is going to be level 1. The base offset is going to be minus. We want it to sit on top of that foundation wall. Let's try that out. If I got that right. Yes. Okay. So there'll be a sill plate, and we'll add those framing members and things later. And then for the constraint at the top constraint, I'm going to bring it up to the top of the top plate. Okay, and I should see now that it's at this lower datum line. Okay, let's take a look at it in 3D. So what you should have so far. Okay, and as I mentioned, I want to show you what this wall section is going to look like. So here's a page of your textbook, and what we're looking at right here is how that wall relates to the face of the foundation wall. So we set the core, the exterior side of the core, which is this line right here, to align with the foundation wall below. And then we have this exterior sheathing in our wall right now. It's noted as 3/4 inch plywood. And then we have the stud wall inside there. All right, now I'm going to start working on the floor assembly. So we'll use the same floor that we have in this structure that we've shown all the framing, we've got these 14-inch I joists. We have a 3/4-inch subfloor. We'll also add a layer of gypsum wallboard for the basement. So we have on this structure, instead of a crawl space, we have a full basement. So we'll add all of those components into a floor assembly. I'm going to go to level 1. And under floor, architecture floor, I'll go to architectural floor, and I want to see what we have here. We'll find one to use as a base, and then we'll make some changes to it. So I'll use this one here. You know, it doesn't matter because we're going to end up needing to change them anyway. Click on this one, edit type, create a duplicate. And I'm going to call this wood I joist. And we're going to not include the finish material right now. I'll just call it wood. Let's do, let's see here, 14. At the end would be better, 14-inch. Okay. And for the structure, I don't want carpet. I am going to eliminate that layer. So I'll click on that row and hit delete. So we won't we won't make any changes to this. We'll change the thickness, however, to be 1 foot 2 inches. And then we will insert, click on insert. I'm going to move this. I'll click on that row, down, down. And this is going to be a finish layer. I'm not sure what finish 2 is. We have to change that later. We will. And then I'm going to look for something called gypsum wallboard. Okay. And that I'm going to make 1/2 inch. And I'm going to say, okay. All right. So there is a section to our wall. And I'm going to hit OK. And now what I will do is use a rectangular. And here I will place my floor inside the wall and hit the check mark. And let's go to our section and make sure everything is relating properly. Okay, now, you know, this looks very different from the detail that I showed you, and we will be making the changes to make them a bit more accurate. But for now, we're going to leave it as we have it. I'm going to click on that floor. We're going to have exactly the same kind of floor type at level 2. So I'm going to hit Control+C. And then let's see, I'll do paste, align to selected levels, and we'll align it to level 2. Okay, let's take a look at this in 3D. There we have the walls and floors for this first structure.